What a gorgeous campus. I'd like to introduce briefly Dr. Timothy Tennant. Dr. Tennant has led the Asbury Theological Seminary for over 3 years now. And during that time and over the past 20 years has been an adjunct professor at the new theological seminary in Dehradun, India. So for a truly global perspective, I'd like to invite Dr. Timothy Tennant up this morning.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for being here. We're so delighted to have the privilege of hosting this wonderful event here at Asbury Seminary. And I want to thank you for coming out for it. Last time we met here, we met in the little dining rooms over here, so we had great response, and we're so thankful we could actually fill the whole cafeteria here with our guests. One of the great joys of being president of an institution like this is the great heritage of which I'm a recipient and a steward of. I know many of us feel this way about the jobs and places that we work, that there are those who went before us that pioneered it and had a vision for it. And Asbury Seminary was founded in 1923 by Henry Clay Morrison. Henry Clay Morrison was widely known as one of the greatest preachers in America. Great orator, very well known, and right here a Kentuckian. And at one point in his ministry, he was known, as some preachers are, for preaching a bit long. And he once commented, when someone asked him why he preached so long, he says, "Well, I don't have a watch." He was preaching in northern Kentucky and at one point, and he gave a very, very powerful message of which over 100 people responded to the gospel and later went into Christian ministry. And they took up a collection and gave him a pocket watch with his name engraved on it. And that pocket watch was not only to mean symbolically or literally to watch the time, but also symbolically to realize the importance of redeeming the time and how we use our time. In his case, for the gospel, for the Lord. And I have here in my hand that stopwatch. And it is passed down to every president of Asbury Seminary as a token of the office. And so I have Henry Clay Morrison's pocket watch. I'm therefore aware of the time. Not only of your time, but also of the time in which we're all in. And we believe that Asbury Seminary is in a really wonderful time. We just completed our 2023 strategic plan. You may notice when you came into town, those from outside town, a big banner there celebrating the year 2023. We have these commemorative coins we put out. And what this refers to is when I arrived at the seminary in 2009, I asked the question, what should Asbury Seminary look like when we celebrate our 100th anniversary, which is in the year 2023? So we just passed a plan, which is I have here. It's a very extensive plan, which really maps out where we think the next 10 years the seminary needs to go to be the kind of place that we need to be for the year 2023 for our next 100 years. So I won't share all of that plan with you, but I do want to share some things that will, I think, be of particular interest for those of you in the business community. First of all, this plan really commits us to what we are calling a residential renaissance. Now, that means that we believe that students preparing for pastoral ministry, which is mostly what we do, Asbury Seminary, I would say 80% of our students are coming here to prepare to be pastors. Others are preparing to be teachers or counselors or missionaries. But of that group, especially the pastoral group, we believe that you can't simply do that online, through the internet. There's things you can learn on the internet, and you can take many classes from Asbury online. But there's some things that you have to learn in community. In formation, spiritual formation, in chapel with students, living in a community like this. And so we decided to do a major advance in upgrading and building new facilities for our married and single students. You may notice when you came in, many of you, of course, will know this that are in the local community, but in 2009, we started a process which will continue on till the year 2015 of completely renovating and rebuilding and new construction of our entire residential community here at Asbury Seminary. This began with a $20 million project of family housing. And I told the trustees, I said, if we build 100 family units, then families will come to Wilmore to live and study and to work. They were not sure about it. But I said to them, trust me, people are eager to live in community. We built 100 family units. This was a $20 million project. You could hear the stampeding feet of young people and families coming back to Wilmore. And we now have a 39 family waiting list. So it's been a wonderful success. We're now building 50 more family units because that way we can recruit new students to Wilmore and say to them, if you come to Asbury, you can live in our family housing. Right now it's all through our existing students. And then on the backside by the bridge there, if you're going down from Cluckers, you'll see the single housing going up. We have the first 2 of 5 major buildings that will be housing our single students. Each of these buildings is a $6 million building. We have 5 of those going up. So during the most difficult economic time in our generation, from 2008 to the present, Asbury Seminary has been committed to expansion, and for especially the construction industry, we're using local Kentucky construction workers. This represents a $60 million infusion of work right here in Wilmore, Kentucky. And so we're very thankful for that. I know that as a business community, you're thankful for that because this involves a lot of money and work. Part of the second phase of the family housing will be a community center, and we want to create a much greater openness to the community, to find ways to connect with the community, to provide places for recreation and for service to the community. Just last month, we hosted our first, at least in my time here, our first community service day. And so I told the entire community, faculty, staff, students, I said, we're going to shut down the entire seminary, all non-essential services, and we're going to take all of our labor of this community and push it out into the community. And so we had, of course, a lot of organization for months ahead of time, but the result was several thousand hours of volunteer service went out to Wilmore and Jessamine County. And a number of you, I'm sure, benefited from that and had requested that. And we want this to be an annual event where we find ways to demonstrate, not just through our presence here. Obviously, we're a $23 million budget. We're making a big economic contribution to the community. But we wanted you to know how much we value being a part of this community and that we want to serve the community. And one of the great things about the number of students coming back to Wilmore is this, of course, affects the business life of Wilmore and the surrounding communities. So we're very thankful for that and what that represents for us. In our plan, one of the things that this plan also calls for is a connection of Asbury to institutions around the world. So we're building a number of global partnerships with institutions like ours, one in Kenya, one in Nigeria, one in Korea, one in India, one in Costa Rica, and several others that we're building. And this will involve a much greater rate of exchange of students from around the world who will come here to study in Wilmore. Our faculty will be traveling to all of these places to teach in those institutions. Their faculty will be coming here to teach. Even now, as I speak, we have 2 of our librarians that are now in Africa, helping to strengthen the libraries there in those institutions. So this is going to create a lot more diversity, a lot more interchange of people and in the world right here in Wilmore, Kentucky, which is a great thing for our school system and for our community to be more aware of the change in the world today. And then the final thing I want to say is about training pastors. I think most of you will be well aware that our culture is going through a number of dramatic changes. You'll be well aware of the stresses of our family life. The particular challenge of the Christian faith in North America is a particular challenge that we face. Christianity as a movement as a whole is growing faster today than any time in its history. In a given day, for example, there'll be over 22,000 new believers in Africa as a continent. We're seeing as many as 16,000 new Chinese Christians every day. So if you look at Christianity as a global movement, it's actually really flourishing. But North America is under a lot of stress. In fact, wherever European descent peoples are located around the world, whether it be North America, Europe, South Africa, Australia, the church is in the decline. So what's happening, not so much among the ethnic America, but the European descent Americans that most of you represent, we are seeing the church in decline, losing over between 3,000 and 5,000 members every day. So what that slowly means is if you take my father's generation, which would be the builder generation, about 65% of that generation self-identified themselves as Christians of a various type, Roman Catholic, Baptist, whatever. If you go down to my generation, which would be the baby boomers, our generation self-declared about 35% Christian. If you go to Generation X, with my children, we have children in their 20s, our children's generation, that generation self-identifies about 15% Christian. If you go down to the millennial generation, they're self-identifying at around 7% Christian. And what that means for those of us who train pastors, that's a really important thing for us. Because what that means is North America is emerging as a mission field, essentially, as a place where increasingly people don't know about Christian faith, who would not necessarily walk into a church. And so we want to train pastors who know how to reconnect the gospel to this culture and to recommunicate the gospel in this situation in North America. That's a big challenge for us. We're excited about that challenge, and this plan helps to bring us this way. I want to just lastly mention it. You see on the table here the card for Asbury Inn. We're really excited about Asbury Inn. This is the only AAA rated hotel in Jessamine County. It's in the last year and a half, we have poured $250,000 into renovating this hotel. It's we're like the Marriott in Wilmore. But it's a great place. Along with the other facilities we're building, we think this is going to be a great way of continuing to serve this area for people who need hotel needs in the Wilmore and this Jessamine County area. So thank you so much for the opportunity to serve you. I also bring greetings from our Board of Trustees chairperson, Joan Krupa. She is the first female chairman of the board in the history of Asbury Seminary, bringing great leadership to Asbury Seminary as a board member, as a board chairperson. She herself a former representative in the House and is a great strategist and a great supporter of this ministry as well. So I also bring greetings from our Board of Trustees. Thank you for all that you do to generate services and work in our community. And I hope that our students and faculty and staff that live in our community are there to help serve and to make this community stronger and better. Thank you very much. If anyone has a question, we have a few minutes. We have about 4 or 5 minutes for questions. If you have a question that's on your mind, like to ask, feel free to do so.
Dr. Tennant, how many students are there now at Asbury Seminary?
Asbury Seminary is larger than Wilmore. We actually have multiple campuses. We have a campus in Orlando, Florida. So we have about 300 students in Orlando. We have an online community, which is around 500 to 600 students who take classes online, but will come to Wilmore or Orlando for intensive classes, 2-week classes, or even come here for a semester, a year. And we have about 800 that are in residence here in Wilmore. That would be both living on campus as well as living in the surrounding community. So a total of around almost 1,600 students in our overall operation here. We offer master's degrees. We don't offer any undergraduate degrees. That will be Asbury University across the street. Of course, that's our mother. They gave birth to us in 1923, so we love Asbury University, but we are not connected to them institutionally. So we offer master's degrees in various level areas of ministry, counseling, intercultural studies, pastoral work, etc. And then we also offer doctoral degrees. We offer a doctor of ministry degree, which would be for pastors who want to do further studies, and then academic degrees that we offer PhDs in biblical studies and intercultural studies here at the seminary. So that would include all students at all phases of their work here. Yes?
You spoke about the student housing. Could you give a moment and tell us about the pedestrian mall for those that might not know about that?
Yes, thank you. Part of our, you may have noticed also, we're having a streetscape project done here with cooperation with the government, which is going to, as you may know, take away all the parking on Lexington Avenue. So that's going to create a much more beautiful view of the whole city of Wilmore. And it's going to be great the whole way the landscape is going to look, and the entrance to Asbury Seminary will actually be on that, what's the name of the road? I'm sorry, Brian. College Avenue. Brian's my geographical man. College Avenue, when you first turn from Cluckers. And they're actually doing work along the back side of that for the parking and the way we're going to be recompensed for our parking changes. But also we were trying to connect. If we have 150 families living over there and they all drive half a mile to campus, that's going to be a disaster. We don't have that kind of parking. So we're trying to create a really nice walkway which connects the family housing, the single housing, and campus, because it's all right here connected. And so we are trying to create a really beautiful walkway that kind of tells the story of the church and the seminary, kind of embedded in the walkway in some way that will be inviting to children and to families to walk that. So we're hoping that will be there as well. Thank you very much, and thank you for your work here in the county.